See you then.
Okay, well, welcome to Bidston Lighthouse, which was built in 1873, as you can see. It's the second lighthouse on the site. There was one just there, just a few yards that way, built in 1771 or thereabouts. That was the first lighthouse. And then they moved the observatory from the docks at Liverpool because Liverpool was expanding their docks. And I think it looked a bit tatty in comparison with their beautiful new observatory. So they built this one out of the same architect, same thing. We are the lighthouse the furthest away from the sea in the whole world. Which is why nobody knows we're here, because it's a stupid place to have a lighthouse, isn't it? And I'll explain how that came to be when we go upstairs. Now for the children, is this your first lighthouse? Yeah? Your first lighthouse? Have you done Lisa? So did they tell you about the two different sorts of lighthouses? Oh, well, as a refresher, there's two different sorts of lighthouses. There's lighthouses that flash, and they say stay away. And they're the lighthouses where there's bad rocks and things that the ships can get smashed on. So, are you all local?
Yeah.
The lighthouse at New Brighton, Perch Rock Lighthouse, was a flashing light, because there's rocks around there. It's actually called Black Rock, that area. Do you know why it's called Perch Rock? Why we call it Perch Rock Lighthouse? Before we had lighthouses, people still tried to help the ships by warning them, and they had a tripod with a platform on top and a big coal fire. So that was the first sort of warning light. And they had one of those in New Brighton. That's called a perch. So when they built the lighthouse, they called it Perch Rock and not Black Rock Lighthouse. So there's those lighthouses that flash to say stay away, and there's lighthouses that beam straight out to sea and they say come to me, and they're guiding lights. So they don't flash at all, they just beam straight out. Come to me. They normally work in pairs, and the captain of the ship has to line the two lighthouses up behind each other, and then they're in the right channel. The way into Liverpool when these lighthouses were in operation was the Horse Channel, which is known, all silted up now, but it was really difficult and the ships needed to be guided through the Horse Channel. Lost my train of thought now. When we get to the top and you see the water, you see Liverpool Bay, there's over 350 shipwrecks out there. So it was very difficult to get through. Some before the lighthouses, some even when the lighthouses were here, because if you get a big storm, the storm can still toss you onto the sandbank and smash you up. And a lot from during the war as well, because Liverpool was so badly bombed. So when you look out, when we get to the top, underneath that water is just lots of sand dunes and sandbanks, and there was only a tiny way through the Horse Channel. Well, come in.
Are you going to stay with Nanny or are you going to come with us?
Yeah. Of the first lighthouse. It's got 8 sides. Tell me what an 8-sided thing is.
Is it in from octopus?
An octagonal lighthouse, marvellous, yeah. This is the first one. Have you all walked from the windmill
Yeah.
to over here?
Yes.
When this lighthouse was working, there was a big flag system right the way across the hill. This is round about where Viner Road is. So right the way across, there was massive, that's the windmill, and right the way across, massive array of flagpoles.
How many were
And
there?
this, we'll talk about those.
How many were there in total? Any idea?
Oh, Stephen knows it exactly, and I don't, because I've never bothered counting them, but yes. So, technical questions for Stephen at the end. It was over 100, yeah.
About 1,000.
Yeah, they kept adding them until it was really totally full. Some of them have got 3 or 4 flags on, so I did get them. So we'll talk more about the flag things, like flagpoles, when we get upstairs. Not only are we the lighthouse furthest away from the sea in the whole world, we had one of the few women lighthouse keepers. Now, Liverpool built its own lighthouses for Liverpool Bay and North Wales coast and things. The rest of the lighthouses in England and Wales are looked after by Trinity House. Trinity House never had a woman lighthouse keeper in all its history. And of course now there's no lighthouse keepers anymore, they're all just controlled by computers. So they never will have a woman lighthouse keeper. Mersey Docks and Harbour were quite good at women. They had quite a few women lighthouse keepers. But I want you to think about it, see how we've all got trousers on. Women in those days didn't wear trousers. You had to, certainly not shorts. no, you had to have a long skirt because you were not allowed to show your ankles, okay? So I want you to think about her when we're going up the stairs with her long skirt on. In this lighthouse there was a woman in there, Elizabeth Wilding. She wouldn't even have there was no electricity, so she'd have had an oil lamp overnight. She's got a long skirt and she's got to carry the oil up to the top. It's quite hard. Now who was it who was scared to go up the ladder, down the ladder?
There'd be nobody there to say if she was wearing trousers.
I like to think she had a secret pair of trousers.
Yeah,
Right, come out here. Okay, we're going to go up to the oil room. Because even though in 1873 we have got electricity, because by this point the flags have gone and there's an electric telegraph. So there is electricity, everyone's a bit scared of it, it's a bit new. But you know, they did have it for the telegraph. They did have gas, people had gas in their homes by now. But the first one was still an oil lamp, and that was stored on the next floor. So up we go, you've got your long skirt, you've got your lamp. You're going to go and collect your oil.
So I don't know where we're going. Why do people come down there?
Right, so this is where the oil was stored, but you come round to me here, where's my ship? Okay. Who's moved my straws? Nice, have you seen any straws? Not filming the same. A few more in there.
It's alright, I'll put away this.
Lovely.
first.
You're alright. Okay. Just dump it on YouTube. Are we ready? You know how we talked about how the ship's captain had to line the two lighthouses up? So you always need two to do guiding lights. So they built Liso Lighthouse where you've been. Everyone know Liso? They built Liso, and that was the upper light, and they built one in the sea to light for the ships to line up with Liso. It lasted about 6 years, and then it was blown away in a storm because they built it on sand, and sand's not really very good for building on. But they'd had to do that because they didn't have a light bright enough to shine any further. The technology wasn't good enough to have a really bright light. By the time this has happened and that one got blown away, this man here, I'll see a picture of him, William Hutchinson. Anyone heard of William Hutchinson? Yeah, good. He's really important to Liverpool and no one's ever heard of this poor man. Right, William Hutchinson had invented a new type of light called a parabolic reflector. And you will hear about this in about 8 years' time at school, and you'll think, I've heard that name somewhere before. So a new type of lamp that would be much further out. So they looked back and they thought, you know, Bidston Hill's in the same line. If we built a lighthouse on Bidston Hill, we can beam that far now, and we wouldn't have to build it so high. So that's how we ended up being here. We nearly didn't have William Hutchinson in Liverpool. Because he started life as a privateer. Do you know what a privateer is? A bit like a pirate. Pirates who work for the government, yeah? And they were allowed to go and capture enemy ships and sell the ships and sell all the sell all the goods and give the government some of the money. But we were always at war with somebody in those days. With the French and the Spanish and the French and the Dutch and the Americans, Portuguese somewhere along there. We were always fighting somebody. And so there was lots of work, there was lots of ships to capture. And William Hutchinson was really good at this. There's about 150 of them worked out in Liverpool, but he was very successful. Until one day, he got shipwrecked. And this is what the ships looked like in those days. They're made of wood. You've got no engine, you just rely on the wind to blow you along.
If there's no wind, you ain't going anywhere.
Absolutely. If there's no, or the wind's blowing in the wrong direction to what you want to go. Very difficult. So, which means that sometimes it could take you an awfully long time to get there and back. Like a couple of years. Just like so because the journeys were so long, underneath here they kept lots of animals for food along the way. So they had to go for some milk and some chickens and some pigs to kill along the way. Ships are made of wood, so when you get shipwrecked, there's always lots of wood floating about on top of the sea. Wood floats, so you've always got something to cling on to. And there's always lots of straw floating about from where the animals have been sleeping. And this is where we get drawn the short straw from. Because the custom of the sea in those days says that if you've been shipwrecked and there's no sign of anyone to come and rescue you, because no one knows you're there, you've got no mobile phones, you've got no radar, nobody knows, you've got no helicopters to come look for you, you just have to wait in the hope that another ship will pass eventually. So, the custom of the sea says you see how many of, there's 12 of, 13 of us, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, that one, yeah. So you take all those pieces of straw, 13 pieces of straw, and you cut one in half, so it's only a small one. And then we all have to choose one.
Oh, no, that's a short straw.
Well, no point in us doing it now. You're in trouble.
Guess what we're having for dinner?
It does. The person who draws the short straw, which was this good lady here, gets killed by the others and eaten. In the hope that the others could stay alive long enough for another ship to come and rescue them. So you sacrifice one to keep the others alive. Wow. That is not the rule of the sea anymore, okay? We all have to starve together if that happens, but we have got radars and helicopters to come look for you now. And life jackets and all sorts, and lifeboats and all sorts of things that they didn't have on these old ships. Yes, yeah. So we have advanced, haven't we? Now, William Hutchinson was shipwrecked, and he drew the short straw. And he tells the story of how he prayed to God and his ship came on the horizon and he was rescued. And he got back to Liverpool and he thought, you know what, that was really scary, I'm not going to see any more. Fair enough. And he became the harbour master in Liverpool for 35 years or thereabouts. If you walk from the Albert Dock through to John Lewis, you pass a fountain in the pavement with the kids playing in and out of. You've seen the fountain, and that's in memory of William Hutchinson. Next time you pass it, go and have a look. On the plaque will be a picture of the lighthouse, because not only he measured the tides twice a day for 35 years without a break, he invented the new light on Bidston Hill. So the parabolic reflector was invented on Bidston Hill, first used in one of the Liverpool lights. We all like to say it was ours, but we don't really know which one. And then used in lighthouses all over the world. Opened one of the first lifeboat stations at Formby Point. You see the foundations there today. Opened orphanages for children and things. I'm sure he'd been horrible as a privateer, but he certainly redeemed himself when he got back to dry land and became our harbour master. So we'll go upstairs. I'll show you the idea behind his light. And talk first. You better stop. Right, Okay. I got copies to do that again. Whereas I could keep everyone going for a month. Right, I've got you all.
Is this the top?
No, this isn't the top, this is the signals room. But before we talk about the signals, this is the idea behind the parabolic reflector. Very simple. Wouldn't have been stainless steel because we haven't invented that yet. Okay, not until 1930s, stainless steel or somewhere around there. Would have been bits of broken glass. Or just tin or something. But lots of bits of broken glass. Behind you is a picture of... So you see how this is only little? That was massive. You had to walk up the steps to put the oil in. So you've got this massive big thing with bits of broken glass and just a big flame that burn gallons of oil every hour that you've got to keep running up and down the stairs with your long skirts. And okay, carry the oil drums up. Even though we don't use it in lighthouses anymore, we've moved on. We still use this every day, all the time. His invention, very simple. Do you think? Instead of, we don't have a flame anymore, we have a bulb. The same idea of concave, whole concave shape.
Torches. Torches.
Torches,
Car headlights.
car headlights, yep, absolutely. So, yeah. Yeah. So, there you go. We still use William Hutchinson's invention. Right, let's talk about the signals. Okay, behind you and up here and there are pictures of all those big poles along the hill. If you look at Bidston Hill in those days, there's no trees. They used to graze sheep and cattle to eat the small shoots, so to keep the trees down. So when you looked out from Liverpool to Bidston Hill, you would be able to see the windmill, the observatory. Well, the observatory hasn't been built at this point, but the windmill and the lighthouse and these hundreds of flagpoles, hundreds of flags.
Wow.
So it must have been an amazing sight to stand there. And the idea was the ship owners paid Lord Finer, who owned all this land, 5 shillings a year to have their flags on these flagpoles. I need a volunteer. Need a volunteer.
Okay.
There would be somebody, I'm really talking about this old lighthouse, but the same idea. You can both take turns. We'll let the youngest one go first. Stand up. There you go. And don't drop it out.
Don't drop it.
No, it's actually a rubbish telescope. Stephen caught me with the 200-year-old telescope with some 4-year-old, and he took it off me and said, well, I gave me that, it's rubbish. Rubbish telescope.
Alright, Ryan. Gently.
So we've got somebody looking out here all the time at Liverpool Bay during the day. And when a ship comes in, they look at the flag. They look the flag up in the book. If that ship owners paid their 5 shillings, they had 11 minutes. The contract was very precise. It was 11 minutes to run down and hoist that flag on the flagpole.
If you look closely, you can actually see
The ship owners all sat at the pier head. There was a coffee shop next to St Nicholas's Church at the pier head where most of the ship owners sat with their spyglass on the hill. And as soon as they saw their flag being hoisted, they went to the docks and they hired the crew to unload their ship. They would have known that the ship had been sighted by Anglesey. This ship might have been away for 18 months there, you know, it's very dicey business getting stuff around the world. So a horse and rider would have told them that their ship was had been sighted. It's so difficult to get in here. It would take a week, depending on the weather and the tides, to get into Liverpool from Wales. It was a nightmare. So instead of having that crew on standby at the docks for a week doing nothing, they could leave it till the last minute. And then, so it was worth quite a lot of money to them. Not only the ship owners looked at Bidston Hill, there's lots of articles telling me about the women of Liverpool standing on Toxters Rise and Ocean Brow and Pierhead and all those high places, looking out, because everybody had someone at sea that they loved. Stephen likes to say that it was so they could go home and keep the lodger out of bed, because it wasn't. It was so that they could go and get the wages off him. Run down to the ship, get his wages before he went down the dock road. How many pubs were there along the dock road? 120 or something? Yeah. That was good, wasn't it? So that's the history of the flags. By the time this lighthouse was built, they had to stop this because it got totally full. So they went to semaphore, which is, there were massive poles with 5 sets of arms, so they could do all sorts of messages starting from Holyhead to Liverpool. There is an episode of The Coast, if you want to go and find it on YouTube. You just type in Bidston Hill, Coast and Bidston Hill, and they reenacted the semaphore with someone doing the semaphore through to Liverpool from Holyhead and someone texting on a mobile phone and the semaphore beat it, which is so they could do it really quickly. By the time this lighthouse is built, we've got the electric telegraph, but same idea, still someone on the lookout, still passing a message from Holyhead through to Liverpool. So it was one of the first commercial telegraph stations here. I'm going to go up to the top. Hang on, I want to explain first. Right. Yeah. I just get away with it, so anyone smaller than me doesn't have to. Mind your head. Excuse me, you've got your long skirt, your oil lamp, and now you've got a drum full of oil. You must have had to tuck your skirt and your knickers. We all did that. Didn't we? Mind your head. I always forget to tell people that I don't have to, so you can find your head. At least you got. Yes.
Oh, what the heck? These rockets, maybe? Well, someone would be killed in this movie.
Maybe a bear flew into it.
It was definitely bullets. I'm not gonna knock it for you. There's a billion people coming over. It's coming over. Well, over there you can see Liverpool. And you can see Liverpool. No, you can't see United Kingdom. You can see, I can see that. Yeah. I can see United Kingdom. Round about where Grandma lives. Where about Grandma lives in Europe, Grandma? Where would you live in Europe, Grandma?
You can't actually see around.
Yeah. I think.
When you did not to
That's the rural camp camera.
Well, we have to.
You actually see that
Unfortunately, you've got a very hazy day. Can you see Liso Lighthouse? So can you see the idea that the ships had to line the 2 lighthouses up? Liso's straight ahead of us, yeah?
Yeah.
That's Liso.
Wait, where's Lisa?
Straight ahead, the tower on the beach, straight ahead.
Oh,
Yeah? That's Liso.
So when
So the ships had to line us up and then they were in the Horse Channel. They then had the choice
Lisa
to either go that way and into Liverpool, depending on the tides and the weather, or go and wait on the weather in Hoylake. There was a big natural harbour in Hoylake in those days. That's also all silted up. Now, can you see at the back, on the horizon, at the back behind the wind farm? And yeah, if you want to grab some binoculars,
I've already got binoculars.
let's grab some.
I've already got
Have a little look. You can see behind the wind farm there's some ships waiting out there. See, at the back there?
Kingdom.
Because the tide's out, so they're waiting for the tides to turn.
Oh my.
By 1906, the sands had shifted so much that the Horse Channel had disappeared. So the pair of lights didn't work anymore. They turned these off in 1906. They left us burning till 1913. We have no idea why. We weren't really doing anything. But the ships now have to go the long way around, so they're going right back and right down. There's Formby Point over there, so they come right the way down there through the Queen's Channel that they keep direction at. It's not so bad because they've all got engines, so they can go the long way round. You can't see it, but over there is Great Orme's Head. Well, Wales is having a rainy day. Wales is, see those rows of mountains? On a clear day, it goes further along and you can see Great Orme's Head to London now. The Formby Point is there, they're also, no one's having good weather today, are they? Last week you could see the mountains of the Lake District, it was so clear, but there you go. Yeah. Right, a few things to tell you before we end. If you look up, there's a curtain rail. So all lighthouses should have a curtain rail. Because what happens, when the sun comes up, she turns her light off and she draws the curtains. She or he draws the curtains. Because if you don't do that, when the sun's at its highest, at 2 o'clock or whatever, it can, with the heat through the glass, it can reignite the light. And they've had some very bad fires in lighthouses when they've forgotten to draw the curtains. So you've got to remember to draw your curtains. The other thing to notice is how many holes there are, where the insects come in now. So lots of ventilation. You've got holes, these round things, whether you would have had a hook on a pole and open those. Holes behind there, lots of places for air to get in. Because eventually you can stop carrying your oil up because we've got gas. So that's a gas tank on the wall. And once you start pumping gas into a room, it takes all the oxygen out of it. And that's why Victorian women fell over all the time. They weren't wimps like I used to think when I read biographies when I was little. I used to think they were pathetic, these Victorian women. They were fainting all over the place. They had corsets on. You had to have an 18-inch waist, so you're not allowed to show your ankles, and your waist has got to be about 18 inches. I don't think there's a corset in the world could give me an 18-inch waist, but they tried. So they couldn't breathe anyway because they had this whalebone corset. So they couldn't breathe. And then the houses started getting gas. And the women just all fell over. The men got away with it because they didn't have the corsets, they could expand their lungs better. Yeah. So they're actually quite remarkable, those Victorian women. But when it's all old lighthouses that have had gas will have lots of ventilation because you can't have your lighthouse people falling over. Right, and the last thing, and this is not going to work for the children, so I do apologise. It's for the adults. I need an adult to go and stand on that green bit.
Colin, you can go
And face that way. And say something.
Hello?
You get an echo.
Oh, say I'm cooking. Say I'm cooking.
No.
Are you getting the echo?
I'm doing it.
It doesn't work for children. You can have a go.
Why doesn't it work for children? Hello?
It needs to, yeah, it needs to hit the glass.
Hello? Hello?
I don't know why it doesn't know. I've tried to stand them on ladders. You have no idea.
Try and make your voice
This
deeper.
experiment's been going on for about 5 years now, and I still don't know the answer.
I'm called Cornflake.
Any more adults want to have a go? But it's a very.
I'll make
come on, it's fun.
I'll have a go. I'll have a go.
I've painted that on there. You have to, yeah, go.
Hello? Whoa, that's
Yeah.
weird.